guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, Neighbor Being a Dick. My backyard borders 3 neighbors, one to the left, one to the right, and one to the back. The neighbor to the back has another neighbor on the other side, from my backyard, of his backyard. All our backyards are fenced by rather low concrete fencing that looks like crap, and some hedges here and there. All these neighbors are lovely people, so we rather easily came to an agreement to have the fence redone with some nice wooden panels. We hired a single company to do everything, as it helped us in getting a good price. I did the coordination, since my backyard was the most central one, and they needed to use that to access all the fences. One of the neighbors knew a guy that could remove the hedges for less money than the company we hired, so we canceled the hedge removing part from the order we placed. My yard didn't have any hedges, so I didn't even care how they would do it. However, when that guy tried to remove the hedges, he got stuck on one of them, because it had some concrete poles embedded in it, which he couldn't remove. The neighbor, whose hedge it was, called the company we hired to ask them to remove the hedge anyway. No problem there, everything was settled. Last week, the company we hired dropped off 2 big garbage containers, one for the old concrete fence and one for the hedge. They placed the one for the concrete fence next to the road on my property and the other container on the opposite side of the road, on the property of an old guy that had his house a bit further down the road from me. The property itself was just a grass field with some trees. I will refer to that old guy as RD from now on because I have learned yesterday that he acts like a rabid dog. RD had nothing to do with the refencing works, other than that there was a container on a patch of grass he owned, but didn't do anything with. The work started on Tuesday and everything went great until my wife found a typed letter in our mailbox from RD. It was a pretty rude letter in which he demanded that the container on his property would be removed as soon as possible. That already agitated me because I had been home all Tuesday and he could have just come over and asked me about it like a normal person. Nevertheless, I went to the guys that were working on the fence and told them about the letter. They assured me that it shouldn't be an issue because the first 3 meters next to the roads is owned by the city and companies can use it to temporarily put stuff they need to complete their work. Nevertheless, they would remove the container as soon as they could. Since the container wasn't even for me, because I had no hedges and it was ordered separately by one of the other neighbors, I thought, screw it, I did my part and just tossed the letter away. Yesterday, right after the guys from the fencing company left for the day, we were alarmed by loud banging on our back door. I went to look and saw Artie standing there. He was already yelling, cussing, and spitting before I'd even opened the door. He ushered me to come with him to take a look at what I had done to his property. We walked to the street and crossed it. All the while he was calling me disrespectful for not answering his letter and all sorts of other furious rambling of which I could only understand half of what he said. Turned out the workers left a small pile of pebbles on his property, probably from one of the neighbors' yards. Then he did something that made me lose what little patience I had left. He poked his finger at my chest and said, "You are going to fix this." I started yelling back at him and got so angry I don't even remember all the things I said. I told him he was being a dick for writing such a dumbest letter, when all he had to do to sort this out was to come and talk to me like a normal person. I told him the container on his property is for one of the neighbors and not me. My container was on my property. I told him that the company had every right to put it there and that he couldn't do jack crap about it. I told him that I don't control what the employees of the fencing company do, so if they leave pebbles on his property, he should call the company and not come yell at me. And finally, I told him I never invited him to come to my back door and that if he ever stepped foot on my property again, I would call the cops for trespassing. Then, I turned around and left him, spitting his anger even further. Didn't see him again though. This morning, the guys from the fencing company arrived to complete the last parts of the fence, and I saw how they first started to rake and shovel the pebbles across the street. I headed out and asked them of that old geezer from down the street, called them, and they confirmed. RD apparently started ranting on the phone and threatened to file a complaint with the police for the pebbles. The guys also said that the pile of pebbles just fell down the side of their truck when they were scooping them in, and they didn't even notice it happened, because their truck was blocking the view. All RD had to do was ask them to remove it, and they would have done so without issue. Instead, he decided to be a total dick about the whole situation. On the bright side, the new fencing looks great. Edit. Just wanted to add a few facts you should know before flaming me. 1. I did not know the company was going to bring 2 containers as the neighbor with the hedge arranged the second one. I was in no way involved in that arrangement. 2. I did not tell the company where they could put their containers. I just arrived home from work one day and the containers were there. 3. I did not know who owned the lot on the opposite side of the street before getting the angry letter from the neighbor. It's just an empty lot with some grass and trees, and I always thought it was owned by the city as there hasn't been any activity on it in the past 9 years I have lived there. 4. After receiving the letter, I told the company that the neighbor wanted the container moved. They said, "No, we're not going to do that as we are legally allowed to put it there." Next one is titled, Paranoid Lady Claims I'm Stalking Her While I'm Just Casually Driving to Work. The place I work at is on a long dead-end street filled with other industrial equipment stores and repair shops. As I am not old enough to have a car, I drive to work with a moped instead. It's quite slow, but it gets the job done. Today when driving to work, I noticed that there's a large Volvo SUV behind me. In fact, I was surprised it hadn't rear-ended me yet, considering how close it followed me. Where I live, the legal maximum speed to all mopeds is 45 kph, and the legal speed in a settlement is 50. Some mopeds can go over 45 from factory, but mine has a limiter, so I'm forced to go 45 in a 50 zone whether I like it or not. Normally other drivers have no issues with it, because it's not that much slower to be annoying, but not to this Volvo driver. Soon after, I turned off the main road and then to the street my workplace is at. At first I thought maybe the Volvo went on from the first street, but it followed me to the dead-end street. After a short while, it passed me but so close and fast that the wind nearly pushed me over. It then slowed down to about 2 car lengths in front of me and kept going at normal speed. Soon I reached my workplace, a warehouse for a car part purchasing website where my job is to find the right stuff from the shelves, pack it up, and prep it for shipping. This is where it gets interesting. Maybe 10 minutes in of me at work, checking out the list of orders I have to complete, I get called to the warehouse manager office. A lady had walked in claiming I had stalked her with my moped. Obviously, I had no idea what was going on. To my knowledge, I was casually commuting to work with my moped. It wasn't long until I realized that the lady was the driver of the Volvo I had encountered previously. My manager, let's call him Dave, was as confused as I was at first and had called me to explain what happened. I was driving to work when I saw a Volvo SUV sitting dangerously close on my tail. After I had turned on the street, it passed me and I continued on until I reached here. Lady, you were stalking me. I felt that you were acting suspiciously when I first was behind you, so I drove as close behind you as possible to see if you would speed up or not. Clearly you did not, so you obviously wanted to be close to me. I'm sorry, but my moped only can go 4 to 5. Dave. I'm sorry, miss, but it seems like OP just was driving to work and you heavily misunderstood his behavior. Lady, no, I couldn't be wrong. He wasn't even looking for this building, he just was staring towards me. Miss, I have worked here for almost 3 months and know the route here pretty well. I don't need to look for it. Also, I wasn't staring towards you all the time. I was just in my own thoughts most of the ride actually. By the way, I don't window my own thoughts all the time as it would be dangerous. I do it rarely when the streets are really quiet, as that particular street often is. Lady, in your own thoughts, are you a weirdo or something? I suppose it depends why you ask. Dave, look miss, I really don't find any reason to punish OP in any way because what happened. In fact, nothing even happened. I will escort you to the exit if you'd like. Lady, ugh, fine, but expect me not to use your services ever. You just lost a good customer. She stormed off after that, leaving me and Dave in the office. After I heard that she had driven off, I quickly went outside to check if she hadn't done anything to my moped out of some petty revenge or something. Thankfully, it was just as I had left it. I returned to my job while Dave drove to the store and brought me a pack of cookies and some coffee for having to deal with that lady. So this whole thing turned out to be a win-win scenario. I get a story to tell and some delicious cookies and coffee as well. Next one is titled, Your Phone Annoys Me. I was sitting in the large lobby of the hospital where I work. It was the part of the building for outpatient clinics, and each clinic has a lobby inside of it. So this was just the larger lobby people sit in after appointments, between appointments, or just to sit and chat with others. I was sitting on one of the cushioned benches near the windows to watch for my ride, and I was texting. An older woman, probably late 60s, came over, sat on the bench next to mine. She glared at me and then goes, "That is really annoying." I looked at her and blinked. "Your phone. I can hear your phone chime, and it's really annoying. In case you didn't know." She said it in this really super nasty tone. I just blinked at her and went back to what I was doing. Of course, your generation doesn't care. You're going to do whatever you want and annoy a senior citizen. Well, I am now. I just kept texting several more people so my phone would continue to chime. You really need to stop it. I don't think I should have to listen to your phone. You're annoying me and you shouldn't be. Well, my mother taught me that if I was annoyed, that I could just move. I really had intended to ignore her, but she was just grating on me. She wouldn't let it go. Seriously, the lobby was huge. If she didn't like to hear my phone, she could have moved. No, you should move. I shouldn't have to because you want to text. Besides, call your mother and ask her if it's okay for you to annoy a senior citizen. I just looked at her solemnly and said my mom is dead. She isn't, but this lady didn't need to know that. She sputtered a few seconds and then said, "So ask her anyways." Another woman was sitting in a chair near us and said, "Wow, that's really rude. You talk about someone's dead mother?" She started talking about her mother. Also, she is rude, and you're rude too. Lady, you're in butthole. The other person just shook her head while the old woman fumed. She shouldn't be so rude and text on her phone. And then she looked at me. Next time you get a flat tire, it's because you were so rude to me. I was a little shocked. Like, if she had asked nicely, I might have muted my phone. But also, we were in a large, busy, loud lobby, and she had come and sat next to me. You don't get to dictate what you hear and don't hear in public when it's normal public noise. And what did my generation have to do with anything? I think demanding someone do something to make you marginally more comfortable in a public place is significantly ruder than texting. You don't get to make the world revolve around your wants. Your wants have to revolve around the world. I then called my husband on the phone, and the old woman stomped off and stood in the cold waiting for the valet to bring her car, glaring at me. Sucks to suck, I guess. Last one is titled. Entitled woman hits me in the back with a glass jar my first day of work. A couple of years ago, I started a job at J-Mart. I was in training as a cashier and still learning the ropes when the entitled woman got on my line. She had a full cart of stuff and I started scanning as she's bobbing through her purse and looking around all sketch. As I finish up scanning, I tell her the total and she starts throwing a tantrum because she lost her EBT card. At this point, there's a line forming behind her down into the clothing aisles, and I tell her I have to void her transaction if she can't pay right now. She continues berating me, calling me a stupid idiot, and all this other jazz, and I should just let her take the order and go since it's already bagged and scanned out. I call over my trainer, who says the same thing I did, and this woman is still looking around as if she's looking for someone. We told her we can put her bags to the side until she comes back with her payment. But she refuses and starts screeching that we're incompetent idiots. I step out to let my trainer take care of it, and this woman grabs a glass jar of sauce and hurls it right at me and it shatters across my back. I hit the floor and she runs out of the store and security chases her down. Turns out this woman was only trying to distract us so her boyfriend could steal something from electronics. As security drags them back in, she starts yelling at me that it's all my fault and she was just defending herself from that fat witch behind a register. The police were called and she and the boyfriend end up going to jail for assault and theft. I didn't last long at J-Mart after that. I was terrified of customers like her, and they ended up closing most of the J-Marts in the area anyway due to bankruptcy or something. Thanks for listening.